Captain Riava stood on the observation deck of the Resolute, staring at the pale blue curve of Vanta 3 below. The colony sprawled like a patchwork quilt across the planet's equatorial plains, metallic habitats reflecting the weak sunlight. The hum of the station was steady, almost hypnotic, but Ria's instincts bristled. Something was off. "Reports are coming in," Lieutenant Moreau said, stepping beside her. His voice was calm but carried the underlying tension that always followed sensor anomalies. "Strange echoes in the outer sector. Nothing our scanners can identify." Ria turned sharply, her sharp brown eyes narrowing. "Strange echoes?" she repeated. "Elaborate, Lieutenant. Nothing we can identify isn't good enough. We have settlers out there, Moreau." Moreau hesitated, then brought up a holographic display. Ripples of irregular energy flickered across the sector map. "Patterns suggest a fleet-level presence, but there's no signature. It's almost cloaked, or moving differently from anything we've catalogued." Ria's lips pressed together. She had faced anomalies before, but the unease gnawing at her was different. Her hands instinctively clenched at the rail. "Keep the colony on alert," she ordered. "No assumptions. If this is an unknown patrol, we need to be ready. If it's something else—" She let the thought trail off. Her attention was interrupted by a low chime from the comm panel. A transmission request had come through, but the signal wasn't human. The display showed a warped form, barely humanoid, trembling under its own gravity. A single word scrolled across the translation overlay: "Warning." Ria exhaled slowly, signaling her crew to monitor the feed. The alien that appeared on the screen was fragile, covered in mottled carapace-like skin, and its mandibles clicked nervously. Its voice, rendered into Terran Common, was raspy. "Captain, listen," it said. "Do not let them strike. Humans, they will never let you flee." Ria blinked, momentarily at a loss. "Wait. Who are you?" she asked, her tone measured but firm. "Explain yourself." The alien's compound eyes seemed to glint with fear. "We failed to heed the warning. Humans, we thought them fragile, easy to corner. We regret. Do not make the same mistake." Moreau leaned closer. "Captain, this is unprecedented. The Terran archive mentions nothing like it." "I know," Ria murmured, her mind racing. "But they're frightened for a reason. Something in their past has left them terrified of humans." She turned back to the feed. "Do you know who might be coming?" The alien shook its head violently, clicking its mandibles. We do not know all. Only heed. Do not provoke, or they pursue endlessly. Across stars, beyond memory, never stop." Ria felt a chill run down her spine. Across stars? Beyond memory? It was cryptic, almost mythic, but the desperation in its tone was real. She swallowed, fighting the impulse to dismiss the message as hysteria. Before she could ask more, alarms blared. Red lights flashed across the deck as proximity sensors registered multiple high-velocity objects emerging from the void. The fleet, the unknown echoes, had revealed themselves. "They're here," Ria said, her voice low, cutting through the alarm noise. She reached for the comm panel, sending out a standard hail to the approaching vessels. "This is Captain Ria Voss of the Resolute. You have entered Terran frontier space. Identify yourselves and state your purpose." Static hissed back. Then, a voice, cold, commanding, alien, echoed through the speakers. "Humans, a mistake of evolution. We take what is ours." Ria's jaw tightened. "This isn't a negotiation," she said aloud to Moreau, though the alien speakers could hear her tone clearly. "This is a warning. Retreat or face consequences." The alien voice paused. "We do not retreat." Ria's knuckles whitened as she pressed her hands against the railing. She knew the danger this fleet posed, not merely in firepower, but in their unpredictability. Humans had survived against impossible odds, yes, but they had also underestimated countless alien threats before. Yet somehow, she sensed these weren't typical aggressors. There was a recklessness in their approach, a fatal arrogance. "Damage reports from the colony?" she asked, stepping back from the viewport. Minor hits on outposts in the outer belt, Moreau replied. No casualties yet, but they're probing defenses. It's tactical, like they're testing human response. Ria's mind raced. Tactical probing suggested intelligence, not mindless raiding. Plot intercept courses, she ordered. We can't let them harm settlers, but we also need data. I want their movement patterns logged. Every angle. Every vector. She moved toward the tactical console, running simulations in her head even as the fleet closed. Her crew worked quickly, the quiet precision of trained professionals under pressure. She couldn't afford hesitation. Her decisions now could save hundreds, maybe thousands of lives. Then, the alien from the feed spoke again, cutting through the chaos. Remember the warning, humans, once cornered, they adapt, relentlessly. You will regret provoking them. Ria paused, absorbing the words. Adapt relentlessly, she repeated softly, almost to herself. Humans were resourceful, yes, but she had never heard it phrased quite like that. There was a recognition here, an acknowledgement from another species that humans were more than brute strength. That they were clever, unyielding, and terrifying when pushed. She straightened, determination hardening her features. All right, she said, turning to her crew. They want to test us. Let's give them exactly that, but on our terms. Track every movement, protect civilians, and keep our edge. We're not reckless, but we're human. And humans don't give up. As the first shots of the skirmish flared in the void, red and orange streaks across the starfield, Ria gritted her teeth. This was just the beginning. Whatever warning the alien brought, whatever ancient fear it carried, she knew one thing clearly: the humans of Vanta 3 would not run. They would fight, adapt, and endure, no matter the cost. And somewhere in the darkness, the unknown fleet would soon learn that lesson firsthand. The Resolute shuddered under the pulse of the first CYRKL energy salvo. Alarms screamed in the command center, echoing against the polished walls, while the viewport displayed streaks of deadly light arcing through space. Shields holding at 78%, reported Lieutenant Moreau, his fingers dancing across the console. They're probing us, but cautiously. Almost like they're measuring reaction time. Ria Voss gritted her teeth. Cautious? They just declared war. Cautious doesn't describe what they're doing. She stepped closer to the tactical display, analyzing the vectors. The fleet was enormous, far more than sensors had initially suggested. Sleek, insectoid ships, angular and unnervingly symmetrical, moved in formations designed to intimidate. Their speed and precision betrayed both experience and confidence. Captain, came Ensign Della's voice, tense. A civilian freighter in Sector 7 is under fire. Hull breach is reported. No distress response yet. Ria's stomach tightened. Every loss of life mattered. Moreau, intercept course, she ordered. We can't let them hit civilians. Full shields on the colony sectors. Prepare boarding protocols in case they disable the freighter. The bridge crew moved with synchronized urgency. Ria, for the first time, felt the full weight of command pressing against her. Decisions here were not theory, they were life or death. Open a channel, she said, her voice calm but firm. Try one more hail. If they refuse, we act. Static answered. Then the cold, unwavering voice of Warlord KRYXTEL boomed through the speakers. Humans! The frontier is ours. Surrender now, and your deaths will be swift. Ria's jaw tightened. Captain Voss of the Terran Frontier Fleet. We do not surrender. You have entered human space without permission. Retreat, or you will face resistance. Silence followed. Then, a pulse of energy slammed into the Resolute, rocking it violently. Lights flickered. Crew members grabbed consoles and rails to steady themselves. Direct hit! Shields dropping! Moreau shouted. Ria steadied herself. Return fire. Target the lead frigate. Take it out without breaching the hull. Disable, don't destroy. She knew the risk. Disabling the ships could provoke more aggression, but killing them outright might escalate into total war. Humanity had survived impossible odds before, but a slaughter here could ignite a spiral that even the frontier fleet couldn't contain. The crew responded instantly, weapons tracking and firing with surgical precision. Pulses of charged plasma ripped across the void, striking the lead ZYRKL vessel. It shuddered, sparking, but continued its advance. "Captain," Moreau said, voice tight. "They're not just probing. They're adapting. Every time we maneuver, they change formation. Anticipating our patterns." Rhea felt a flicker of admiration beneath her frustration. The ZYRKL were clever, disciplined, but humans thrived on unpredictability. "Good," she said. "Then let's give them something they can't anticipate." She tapped into the ship's AI interface, initiating a series of complex evasive maneuvers, weaving the Resolute through asteroid debris fields and gravity anomalies. Meanwhile, reports from Vanta 3 arrived. Outposts had been hit, minor casualties reported, but evacuations were proceeding efficiently. Humans were fast, adaptable, and relentlessly practical. Every colonist rescued, every freighter saved, reinforced the warning the trembling alien had delivered earlier. Humans did not yield easily. A captured ZYRKL drone, disabled during an earlier skirmish, was brought aboard for interrogation. Its mandibles clicked nervously as Rhea approached. Moreau and Della hovered, waiting. "Tell me why you are here," Rhea demanded. Her voice carried authority, yet not cruelty. "Why attack humans?" The drone paused, as if debating whether to respond. "Warlord. HFY seeks to prove supremacy. Humans threat, easily cornered, destroyed, satisfaction." Rhea exchanged a glance with Moreau. "Supremacy? Satisfaction? This isn't war for survival, it's ego." She felt the familiar mix of frustration and determination. Ego was a human weakness, but humans also had the capacity to turn it against their enemies. She turned to the tactical display again. "If HFY wants to test humans, let's test him back. Deploy decoys along the periphery of the colony sectors. Force them into predictable positions, then strike strategically. Remember, the colony comes first. Every civilian protected, every life counted." The crew executed the orders flawlessly, and soon the battlefield became a labyrinth of shadows and false targets. The ZYRKL, aggressive but methodical, fell into the traps one by one. Rhea watched as pulses of plasma redirected, intercepts misaligned, and ships disabled, not destroyed, proved a painful lesson in human adaptability. Moreau's voice broke through her concentration. "Captain, they've captured a small research station near the asteroid belt. They're taking hostages." Rhea's jaw tightened. "Prepare boarding parties. Drones, automated defenses, whatever we have. They will not hold civilians. We fight, but we protect." She paused, eyes narrowing on the alien fleet forming new patterns. "Moreau, keep observing. Learn. Humans don't just react. We anticipate. We adapt. And we never stop when it matters." Hours passed in a tense rhythm of attacks and counterattacks. Every strike from the ZYRKL met with ingenuity. Every maneuver they attempted was met with calculated unpredictability. The alien fleet began to falter, not from brute force, but from underestimating human creativity, their relentless ingenuity. Finally, the captured ZYRKL engineer, a small, scuttling figure now trembling under human supervision, spoke. "Warlord obsessed, humans, their ferocity, cannot measured, they endure relentlessly." Rhea's lips pressed into a thin line. "Endure relentlessly," she repeated quietly, almost to herself. That phrase, echoing the warning from the alien refugee, crystallized the truth. Humans didn't just survive, they adapted, learned, and struck back with precision born of necessity. The chapter closed with a distant pulse across the void, the ZYRKL Warlord HFY's flagship accelerating toward Vanta 3 itself. The rest of the fleet spread behind him, poised for escalation. Rhea's hands rested on the tactical console, her face set with grim determination. "Prepare for full engagement," she ordered. "This isn't just about survival anymore. It's about proving that humans never yield. Outside the viewport, the stars were silent witnesses to the opening of a conflict that would test both species in ways no one could yet predict. And deep inside the human spirit, something ancient and unyielding stirred, a determination that would shape the battle to come. The Resolute drifted among the scattered remnants of the asteroid belt, engines humming low as if it were holding its breath. Captain Riavas studied the tactical display, eyes narrowing at the intricate web of sensor readings. The ZYRKL Splinter fleet was advancing, predictably aggressive, but that predictability was about to work in humanity's favor. "We've mapped their formation patterns," she said, her voice calm but sharp. "They've learned from our previous maneuvers, yes, but they're overconfident. They assume we'll always react, never initiate the unexpected." Lieutenant Moreau nodded. "We've aligned the debris fields along their most probable approach vectors. If they pursue, they'll have no room to maneuver without hitting obstacles, or each other." Ria's gaze swept across the holographic battlefield. Every asteroid, every gravity anomaly, was positioned intentionally. Every patrol, every freighter, every small colony ship was accounted for. This wasn't just defense, it was a calculated offensive disguised as retreat. Humans thrived on ingenuity, and now they would prove it. "Captain," Ensign Della said, her voice tight, "the civilians we evacuated earlier are in position behind the debris fields. They're safe for now, but any miscalculation and—" Her voice trailed off, the weight of potential failure hanging between them. Ria placed a steady hand on Della's shoulder. "That's why we don't miscalculate. We've prepared for every variable we can control. And we'll adapt to the rest." She straightened. "Prepare to execute Phase 1. All drones ready. Automated turrets online. Track every movement of the ZYRKL fleet." The first pulses of alien energy cut through the void, lighting the darkness like jagged ribbons. The ZYRKL ships were confident, pressing forward as if the Resolute would break under their pressure. They hadn't yet grasped that the humans weren't reacting, they were setting the stage. Miro's voice came urgently over the comms. "They're accelerating into the asteroid corridor. It's a straight path. The trap is effective." Ria exhaled slowly, watching the enemy's ships navigate the narrowing field. Then, a small flare of plasma lanced out from the Resolute, striking the lead ZYRKL frigate. Sparks erupted along its hull, but it pressed on, unaware that its path had been subtly altered. "No," Ria said, eyes flashing. "Phase 2. Suddenly, debris fields shifted using gravity tethers, subtly nudging small asteroids into the fleet's path. Alien ships scrambled, but the corridors were tight. Collisions began, not catastrophic, but enough to slow formations, forcing vessels to drift into pre-designated zones where human turrets waited. Energy pulses struck disabled ships, cutting power and communication without destroying life support. Ria didn't want massacre. She wanted the message to be unmistakable. Humanity did not escalate without reason, but humans would never stop defending what they held dear. Amid the chaos, a warning signal pinged across the Resolute. "Captain," Moreau said, voice tense. "An encrypted transmission, alien frequency. Not HFY. Older, forbidden. They're broadcasting from deep in the fleet." Ria leaned over, activating the secure channel. The image flickered, revealing an elder ZYRKL figure, a monk, cloaked in ceremonial carapace. His mandibles clicked in slow, deliberate patterns, and his compound eyes seemed ancient, weary. "Descendants of the frontier," the elder rasped, voice reverberating in Terran Common. "Heed this warning. Your species has been studied. You endure, adapt, overcome. Warlord HFY ignores what must not be forgotten. Humans have never yielded once provoked. Our ancestors learned, too late. Withdraw now, or follow the same path to destruction." The transmission ended as abruptly as it began, leaving the crew in stunned silence. Ria's hands clenched the console. The warning echoed the words of the alien refugee from Chapter 1, confirming what she had begun to suspect: humans were a force that could not be underestimated. "They know," Moreau said softly, awe in his voice. "They know what humans can do, and they fear it. Ria's eyes narrowed. Fear is powerful, but overconfidence is dangerous. HFY is blinded by hubris. He believes he can provoke humanity and control the outcome. She tapped a series of commands into the console. We'll teach him otherwise. The next hours were a blur of tactical ingenuity. Using feints and misdirection, the Resolute and her fleet manipulated the ZYRKL formation further into the debris-laden void. Ships collided lightly, energy beams misfired due to gravitational anomalies, and disabled vessels were carefully isolated. Human crews moved with fluid coordination, rescuing stranded aliens where possible, mercy and strategy intertwined. Captain, Della called. HFY's flagship is advancing directly toward Vanta 3. He's ignoring the Elder's message entirely. This is suicidal. Ria's jaw set. Then we make our stand where it counts. She accessed the colony's orbital defense network and linked her ship's AI. Prepare coordinated interdiction. Focus on precision strikes. Civilian areas remain untouchable. This is about proving a point, not slaughtering them. The flagship closed in, massive and imposing, bristling with weaponry and exuding intent. But the humans had adapted. Automated turrets, decoy ships, and asteroid corridors forced the alien vessel to maneuver unpredictably, draining its energy reserves and testing HFY's patience. Then came the pivotal moment. Using a combination of gravitational displacement and carefully timed plasma bursts, Ria trapped the flagship in a pocket of null space, a small region where maneuvering was nearly impossible. It was a containment, not a kill. Phase 3 complete, she announced. The message will be understood. Humans do not escalate without reason. But once cornered, they adapt relentlessly. The captured ZYRKL engineer, trembling, clicked his mandibles in awe. Warlord, humans unstoppable, cannot be ignored. Ria exhaled slowly, allowing herself a fraction of satisfaction. This was the turning point. The fleet had learned that humans were not fragile prey. They were clever, resourceful, and united. Yet the fight was far from over. From the distance, sensors detected smaller splinter groups still pressing forward, and the flagship still bristled with energy, its crew determined to escape the trap. But the human line held, and Ria knew reinforcements were en route. She turned to Miro and Della, her voice quiet but resolute. This is what they've underestimated. Adaptability. Unity. Determination. Humans survive because we never stop when it matters. And HFY will learn that lesson firsthand. Outside the viewport, the void shimmered with energy discharges and trailing debris. Stars gleamed coldly in the distance, silent witnesses to the confrontation unfolding. Humanity's ingenuity, combined with their refusal to yield, was rewriting the battle, and it was only the beginning. As the chapter closed, Ria felt the weight of inevitability settle in her chest. The ZYRKL warlord had ignored every warning, every signal, every lesson from the past. And soon, he would learn what humans had always known: they adapt, they endure, and they never, ever let anyone corner them without consequence. The void shimmered with fire and metal, a storm of energy and debris encasing Vanta 3. Captain Ria Voss gripped the railing of the Resolute's bridge, eyes locked on HFY's flagship as it surged forward, bristling with weapons and defiance. Every pulse, every maneuver, radiated arrogance, the same arrogance that would prove fatal. Captain, Lieutenant Moreau said, voice tight. Reinforcements are 2 minutes out. But if HFY breaches the colony's perimeter, we risk massive casualties. Ria's jaw tightened. Then we make those 2 minutes count. Focus every turret on disabling the flagship. Deploy drones and synchronize swarms. Civilian sectors remain untouchable. No one dies unnecessarily on our watch. Ensign Della tapped a series of commands, sending automated interceptors into the void. They weaved through the debris field, lights blinking like stars caught in a web. The flagship responded aggressively, energy pulses tearing through space, but each strike met with calculated countermeasures. Ria exhaled, her mind a lattice of strategy. Years of frontier combat had taught her one truth: humans thrived when underestimated. The ZYRKL believed themselves predators. Humans, cornered, would become something far more formidable. "Captain," Moreau said suddenly, pointing to the tactical display, "the flagship is attempting a direct boarding maneuver. They want to take us by force." Ria's lips pressed into a thin line. "Let them try." She activated emergency protocols, sealing all airlocks, deploying defensive turrets, and readying the boarding parties. "This is the final lesson," she said quietly, almost to herself. "Humans never yield. Not ever." The flagship's boarding pods pierced the void, small and fast, seeking to breach the Resolute. But the trap Ria had set weeks ago, gravitational tethers, asteroid debris, and predictive AI patterns, rendered their approach hazardous. Pods collided with floating rock, disabling half of them instantly. The rest were met with precise defensive fire, knocked into disarray without risking life. Ria's communicator beeped urgently. "Captain, civilian evacuation is complete," Della reported. "They're safe in orbiting colonies. We can fight without restraint." "Good," Ria said. Her gaze hardened. "Now we end this." She maneuvered the Resolute into a shadow of asteroids, appearing to retreat but in reality funneling KRYXTAL's flagship into a narrow channel. The ship's AI coordinated with orbital turrets, drones, and auxiliary ships in a symphony of precision strikes. Energy beams lanced through the void, disabling weapons systems and tearing open compartments, but always avoiding casualties. KRYXTAL's voice echoed across the bridge, distorted and furious. "Humans! You will yield! You cannot resist forever!" Ria's voice cut back, steady and unwavering. "You misjudge us. We don't yield because we are strong. We endure because we must, and because we protect what matters." The flagship faltered, its systems strained under the relentless precision of human tactics. Ria saw the opening and acted. She initiated a coordinated strike. Gravity tethers nudged the flagship into the debris corridor, drones disabled its navigation, and energy pulses temporarily neutralized its weapons. "Phase final," Ria whispered, her eyes scanning the crippled ship. "Show them what humans are capable of when pushed." The boarding party breached the flagship, moving swiftly, neutralizing key systems and isolating KRYXTAL. When she finally faced the warlord, the silence was deafening. He towered over her, carapace gleaming under emergency lights, mandibles clicking in irritation. "You survive," he hissed, anger and disbelief mingling in every syllable. "How?" Ria stepped forward, eyes steady. "Because humans never stop adapting. You provoked us, warlord. You ignored warnings. You believed arrogance would win you this battle. You were wrong." KRYXTAL's compound eyes narrowed. "We will return. Humans will regret." Ria shook her head. "No. You'll transmit your experience. Across your fleets. Across your people. Let everyone know, humans endure, adapt, and protect. That is why you cannot conquer them. That is why you never corner them without consequence." The warlord paused, processing the defeat. Around them, his crew scrambled, systems failing, vessels disabled, energy reserves depleted. They had underestimated a species that refused to yield, that valued ingenuity, strategy, and life in equal measure. Ria contacted the Resolute bridge. "All units cease fire but maintain containment. Civilian sectors untouched. Evacuate the wounded ZYRKL. Humanity fights to survive, not to exterminate." Outside, the void seemed to breathe, the chaos settling into stillness. Humans had proven their point without unnecessary slaughter. The colony was intact. The fleet crippled. KRYXTAL's arrogance shattered. Then came the broadcast, a final message from KRYXTAL, sent across the surviving ZYRKL fleets. "Do not attack the humans. They endure. They adapt. They protect. They follow across the stars, and they will win." Ria exhaled, tension draining from her body. She knew the weight of that message. Humanity had survived, not by brute force alone, but by ingenuity, unity, and relentless determination. The warning, once cryptic, had proven real. Humans did not flee, they endured, they adapted, and they never, ever let anyone corner them without consequence. Moreau approached, eyes reflecting the vastness of space outside. "Captain, we did it! We survived! And we proved something!" Ria's gaze lingered on the distant, crippled flagship. "We didn't just survive, Moreau. We reminded the galaxy why humans endure. They'll tell stories of this day, of how humanity fights not because it desires war, but because it refuses to be defeated when protecting what it holds dear." Ensign Della, quiet until now, added softly, "We made them understand, without slaughtering them." Ria nodded, a faint smile breaking the stoicism of command. "Mercy is strength," she said. "And humanity has plenty of it when paired with resolve." The crew of the Resolute exhaled collectively, tension melting into cautious relief. Around them, the stars of Orion's spur glittered with indifferent brilliance, unaware of the lesson humanity had just etched into the void. And deep in the cold emptiness, KRYX's fleets would carry that lesson across their fractured imperium. Do not attack humans. They endure. They adapt. They protect. And once cornered, they will never let you flee. Captain Ria Voss allowed herself a moment of quiet pride. The frontier was safe, for now. Humanity had faced the void and shown that its greatest strength was not firepower or technology alone, but the unyielding spirit of its people. The Resolute shifted course, engines glowing softly. Ahead lay a galaxy of unknown dangers, but Ria knew one truth remained constant. As long as humans stood united, no threat, alien or otherwise, would ever catch them unprepared. And somewhere, in the silence of space, a warning that had once terrified an alien species had been reaffirmed: never provoke humanity.